Live now.
Okay.
That's okay. We're recording the podcast. We're live now. Sorry, everybody, if you're watching. If you're not, oh well. We're about 10 minutes in, but so deal was struck in 1991. Like I said, took 1 year for James Cameron to write, produce, film, and direct, and edit the film for it had to come out. It was a very quick process. I'm surprised because the movie's so great. Not a lot of flaws in it.
Nope.
But yeah, it was all done within 1 year. Arnold tore the skin from his hand trying over and over again to get the iconic one-handed cock shotgun scene done on the motorcycle. He actually ripped the skin from his hand. The original idea for T-1000 was Billy Idol. He dropped out after a motorcycle accident. They also had the idea of bringing back Michael Biehn. Arnold facing himself like it was the original plan from the first movie. And Steven Seagal was the other option. They ended up going with Robert Patrick. His inspiration for T-1000 was David Bowie meets James Dean. You kind of get that from that character that he was playing. He was hired by James Cameron after seeing Die Hard 2. I guess he was I don't remember. I haven't seen the movie in a while, but I guess he had a small role in that. He was trained for running for months just by breathing through his nose, so he showed no sign of fatigue while filming. He practiced shooting a pistol without blinking from the blowback like a machine. He studied the head movements of American bald eagles and copied them for the T-1000.
I think,
he also studied great white sharks. I
think in Die Hard 2 he was just one of the bad guys. I think they just show him like once in like the van when they're traveling. It's been a long time since I watched Die Hard 2, but I think that's who he was.
Okay. But yeah, he also studied great white sharks. James Cameron purposely kept sweat off of T-1000 because it's a different robot. He wanted every shot to differentiate the two cyborgs. And his older brother, he's the older brother of Richard Patrick, who is the lead singer of Filter. The sound of the T-1000 transforming was a recording of dog food coming out of a can. It was also achieved by wrapping a microphone in a condom and sticking it into a mixture of water and flour brought to a boil. In one of these scenes in the beginning where Arnold is supposed to be naked, this is what it actually looked like behind the scenes. Arnold is wearing beach shorts. Practical effects done by Stan Winston. The bullet holes in T-1000 were kind of like a blooming metallic burst remote controlled through a robot. Terminator exoskeleton in the beginning was fully animatronic, controlled by 12 robot puppeteers. Each person who T-1000 replicates in the film is an actual twin of the host actor, so they could actually face off with the same shot instead of having to do it in post. It was at that time, like I said, CGI, very very infancy of this technology, so it actually made sense. Including Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton's real twin sister in real life is Leslie. She filmed her scenes as well. Linda Hamilton trained in artillery combat for 13 weeks, judo, marksmanship, and learned to expertly pick locks. She took out an earplug in the elevator scene during filming, and during a firing of gunshots became permanently deaf in one ear. The Miles Dyson character was turned down by Denzel Washington.
Oh God!
Because the character looked too scared and he sweat. That's the exact quote from James.
That makes sense. That's somebody protecting their own image, I guess you could say. It's something The Rock does basically on every project he works.
Yep. ILM had to digitally remove Robert Patrick's junk in the time travel scene in the beginning of the movie. ILM had only 6 people on their team before this movie came out. Because of this movie, they had to up the manpower to 36 persons. The task involved Terminator 2. It would have taken one person to make this movie. It would have taken them 12 years, is what I heard for the facts of this. CGI in the film only equal to about 3.5 minutes of the whole entire screen time. After the film was released, Cameron received a letter from the nuclear laboratory thanking him for making what they call the most realistic depiction of a nuclear bomb going off ever. Hiroshima would have looked something like this. And of course, the scene you see Sarah Connor with all the skin ripping off of her and stuff. He hired a lot of experts on nuclear warfare to get the scene researched just right. The Guns N' Roses scene where Arnold's going through the hallway with the gun in the box of roses was inspired intentionally by the band Guns N' Roses. Arnold even appeared in the music video for the song Guns N' Roses had on the soundtrack. James Cameron would not allow young John Connor to carry or use a firearm at all in the movie. He was an advocate for that. The original ending was going to be a flash forward to 2027, showing that Doomsday did not happen, the Judgment Day didn't happen. The deleted alternate scene saw an adult John Connor as a U.S. Senator and Linda Hamilton as a grandmother, complete with old age makeup. And it was going to be August 29th, 1997. Came and went. She had a little joke about Michael Jackson turning 42 in the original script. James Cameron received $6 million for writing and directing. Schwarzenegger was paid $15 million, huge at the time.
Yep.
Equates to about $21,000 per word. On top of this, he also was given by the producers a Gulfstream jet worth $14 million. Now, just that's all the facts I have. But this movie, of course, the video game, my background today, arcade game. I remember that more than the movie when I was at that age. I don't remember exactly when I saw this movie. It was on cable or something the first time I saw it. But
yep. I remember
the video game was probably my first time seeing it.
Yeah, the video game was great. We used to go to the Dream Machine and play it. A lot of people would have their birthday parties there. It came out on SNES and Sega Genesis, which is kind of trash because there's no gun. You had to use the D-pad a little bit. But I remember this movie mainly from, I think it was Abe Zacharias and maybe Jet Fisk talking about it when we were in when we were like 8 years old or whatever. Talking about how awesome and badass it was. I don't know if they'd actually seen it at the time or just bragging that they'd seen it, because that's what kids do when they're in like second, third grade. But I absolutely love this film. It's so hard for me to rank if I like this one or the first one more. I think I like the first one a little bit more because the noir setting and the human versus Terminator aspect of it is a little more interesting. But then in this movie, you get like Robert Patrick and Arnold facing off, so it's awesome also. So yeah, I saw these movies. I probably saw them eventually when I was like 10 or 11. But yeah, these movies are great.
Yep, great. And of course, every dystopian movie after this, everything that has to do with time travel in the future that's been destroyed by the past is kind of imitated off of this movie. Arnold's legacy, of course, he's known for all the one-liners from this movie. Hasta la vista, I'll be back. Everything became
I'll be back from the first. Movie. And he couldn't. Right. It was going to be I will be back, but he couldn't pronounce it because of his accent, so they just changed it to I'll be back, and they obviously brought it back for this one. Yeah, these movies are awesome.
Yeah, very good. And this is the second movie out of 6, and I would say probably the best of all of them. And it's for me top 5 sci-fi movie. And it's just really good. Like I mentioned, Robert Patrick's top 3 villain of all time, just because of his performance in this movie, just because he plays it off as such a menace. It's just a great performance all around. But yeah, we're bringing this up also because Terminator Zero came out. We're going to talk about what we watched this week. Terminator Zero came out on Netflix. It's an anime cartoon. Half anime, half computer animation. There's 8 episodes, about 27 minutes each. Watched the whole thing yesterday. It's very, very good. I kind of told you it was kind of like Godzilla -1 for the Terminator universe. Yeah. Just because it's another retelling of the Judgment Day story, but through another lens. Now, this movie is set in Japan. It's set in Japan. Did you happen to watch any of this?
I watched the first 4 episodes. It's very fucking good. The animation is excellent.
Yeah, excellent,
all the voice work is really good. I was worried that, because I really didn't look into it, I knew Rosario Dawson was cast. So I had a feeling it would be in English, but there was still part of me that thought maybe just her part was in English and they would like dub everyone else or do whatever subtitles with everyone else. But I'm glad the whole thing is in English, and I think this show is excellent. Hopefully going to watch some more after we're done here and watch some Rings of Power, but we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, it's very, very well done. Very well written. The same guy that is the creator of the show is also writing the Batman Part 2.
Okay, cool. Yep, very good. I like the characters in this. I like by the end. I'm not going to talk about the ending, but there's some great twists to the Terminator universe. Definitely sets up a second season if they want to do it. Like I mentioned, all set in Japan. And a whole other kind of aspect to the Terminator and Skynet. It's a whole other version of Skynet, kind of, out of Japan. That's a competing version of it, I guess. But yeah, pretty good. I also want to talk about a show. I think I may have brought it up before, but there's a show on Netflix I've been watching recently again called Love. This is produced by Judd Apatow. Stars, I can't remember her name. She was in Community. And it stars another kid who's just great in it. He's a nerdy kid with glasses. This show, I always talk about Undeclared being one of my favorite shows ever. This is show. Right up there. This is right up there too. Just the dynamic between the cast, and then the dynamic between the two main characters from the very first scene in the very first episode to the last scene in the last episode. It's their story of them falling in love, and kind of Mickey, who is the main character, is a mess. She's a drug addict. She's a drunk. She's addicted. She says she's addicted to love and sex and everything. It's a very, very good show. If you've never watched it, it's a comedy. It's on Netflix. 3 seasons. It got canceled right before the pandemic, and they ended up letting them do the last season. But it's a very, very good show. It's called Love. I also watched Dirty Dancing because we're getting into Labor Day weekend. And that end of that movie, the big dance is Labor Day weekend, is the end of the summer. So it kind of got me into it because I've seen a lot of posts about it. But the soundtrack, I got into the soundtrack deep dive on that too. Also, like on my personal Facebook page, I've been doing soundtrack summer all summer. So I was getting into songs. I was like, I missed this whole entire soundtrack when I was doing my list of songs I wanted to put on my Facebook feed. And there are a lot of great moments in this song. Of course, the end, everybody knows the dance at the end, time of your life. But there's a lot of great doo-wop 50s, 60s music that are interlaid throughout the whole soundtrack of this movie that's great. What other end of summer, like what movies do you think of end of summer or summer movies do you think of that kind of bring you into the summer feel of watching when you watch a movie? Like for me, this one's Summer Rental. I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head, but those are the 2 main ones for me that kind of mean summer to me.
I don't know. I don't really watch end of summer movies. I do watch movies like The Sandlot, which brings me into summer.
Sandlot would like do that, yeah.
But Sandlot could be used here also.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really don't have any, like I have like obviously Jaws like for July and whatnot, but
Jaws
I don't have any like end of summer ones, but yeah.
Yeah. For me, that one and whatever one I already lost track of what I just said. But yeah, Dirty Dancing. Dirty Dancing is a great movie. If you've never seen it, again, rock. You're living under it. Get out of it. I've been wanting to watch this movie ever since we watched Tick, Tick, Boom. Now, we talked about it in the very beginning of the podcast, first year. Jonathan Larson died right before Rent started previews. And Rent was a Broadway show, ended up being turned into a movie in 2005, which I had never watched until this week. Starred Rosario Dawson, speaking of her earlier, Taye Diggs, Idina Menzel, Jesse L. Martin. He was Iris's father in The Flash. Tracy Toms, who is on Love on Netflix, which I just talked about. And Anthony Rapp, who, the name sounds familiar if you're into pop culture news. He is the guy who said that Kevin Spacey sexually assaulted him. The whole reason Kevin Spacey got canceled. But pretty much, except for Rosario Dawson and Tracy Toms, is the entire cast of Rent. The Broadway cast came back to play their roles in the movie. Directed by Chris Columbus, not Christopher Columbus, Chris Columbus, who has directed a whole bunch of other movies, of course, Mrs. Doubtfire, Harry Potter, everything. Every 90s movie, like,
Home Alone?
Not every movie, but Home Alone, yeah. But it's a bohemian rock opera, tackles LGBTQ, the drug epidemic, and the AIDS crisis, kind of what it's all about. It's all inner city relationships in New York City. It's really good. The only problem is I think this went a little bit too far. I love musicals, but this went a little bit too far in my love of musicals. It's just a little bit campy, a little bit over the top. I love Hamilton, just because it's kind of a mix of hip hop and history and everything. It kind of hit me just right at the time. But this is a little bit too musical for me. But it's really good. The story is good. Of course, at the time you're thinking 1995 when this actually was released, 1996 when it got all the Tony Awards. AIDS crisis was huge at the time. I remember we had stuff in school where they were talking about it all the time. But it was a big deal, and it wasn't really brought into the picture of the world like this play had done to it. Kind of made it normalized it, I guess, in a way. Yeah, it's an okay movie. Story is good. It's just it's not my type of musical, I guess you could say, but decent movie, and it made me watch Tick Tick Boom right after it because I love that movie.
That movie is really
mostly
good.
because Andrew Garfield plays Jonathan Larson perfectly.
So fucking good.
The history of that musical, like Rent, like I mentioned, Jonathan Larson died the night before this Rent was going into previews on Broadway, so he had no idea how successful it became. He was living at the time. He was living in a loft with a whole bunch of people with no heat in New York City. They had heat from like a barrel with fire. That's what he was living in at the time of his death. He had no real success. Rent was going to be the big one. He didn't have a chance to see it come to fruition. But Tick Tick Boom was something. It's kind of his passion project before Rent. And when he died, they took this project and a whole bunch of other stuff from the Library of Congress when they took his papers there. And Lin-Manuel Miranda, who, of course, Hamilton, went in. He directed Tick Tick Boom. Went in to the Library of Congress, got a whole bunch of his old tapes, scripts, songs, everything. Put them into Tick Tick Boom, including this play that John Larson did called Boho Days, which is a song in this soundtrack. But that was the original play that he did in the early 90s before Rent. He kind of mixed everything together and made Tick Tick Boom. He did songs that were in the Library of Congress, mixed them into that play. And it kind of also told the story of John Larson through the play, especially after the Rent stuff happened and after he died. Like I believe in the original play, the original play came out in 2001. And I believe it was talking about Rent at the time, how he was writing a musical, and that's basically Tick Tick Boom did that too. Like he was in the middle of trying to figure out his next big thing, but he never saw it come to fruition. But if you've never seen Tick Tick Boom, I suggest that over Rent.
Yeah,
it's a great story, great movie.
Wasn't
Andrew Garfield blows it out the water.
Wasn't that up for Oscar for Film of the Year, or was it just his performance?
Andrew Garfield was up for performance.
Okay.
I'm not sure. It may have been up for Oscar too, because there's a lot of nominations for Oscar nowadays. But yeah, great movie. Watch that one. Rent's pretty good too if you're into musicals. A little bit too musical for me, but Tick Tick Boom is great. I watched another movie that came out on Prime called Jackpot. This stars John Cena, Awkwafina, and Simu Liu, of course, who's Shang-Chi. This is set in 2030. It's a dystopian lottery, kind of like Hunger Games meets The Purge. Created during the Great Depression of 2026. Wow, that's not too far away. And basically, the basic premise of this movie is in California and LA, they have a lottery. If you buy a lottery ticket, you are in a drawing, and if you get drawn, you can win the big jackpot if you last 24 hours. And everybody else who won a lottery ticket has a chance to kill you and win your big winnings if they kill you. And Awkwafina is the girl in this movie who wins the lottery, wins it, and it gets chased for 24 hours. And John Cena is kind of like a hired gun to protect her. He gets a little certain portion of the lottery if he ends up helping her survive the 24 hours. Decent movie, directed by Paul Feig. Of course, he's done Ghostbusters, Bridesmaids. We don't talk about Ghostbusters that much, the 2016 one, because it's trash.
With reason, yes.
But Paul Feig, he was involved in The Office. He was involved in Freaks and Geeks. He's involved with a lot of stuff that I liked in the early 2000s. So had a lot of cameos. Sean Michael Scott, of course, Stifler from American Pie. Adam Ray, Machine Gun Kelly, Bobby Lee, Stanley from The Office was in this. Decent movie. This is on Amazon Prime called Jackpot. Very good. I started watching Bad Monkey on Apple TV. Kind of boring. This stars Vince Vaughn. Kind of boring. Set in Key West. Set in Key West, but kind of Miami. He goes back and forth to Miami, and they actually bring up Miami Metro PD, which we just watched Dexter, which is kind of funny.
That is funny.
Yeah, but the show is kind of boring. I didn't get any further than the first episode, but I did get into Only Murders in the Building season 4. It premiered this week. Very first episode. It was great. I was surprised as they usually with this show they do at least 3 episodes. They only premiered 1 episode this year, which is fine. But it was very good. They've all gone to LA, and they end up meeting these actors that are going to be playing them on screen. They're going to be doing a movie about Only Murders in the Building, their podcast, and Eva Longoria is going to be playing Selena Gomez. Zach Galifianakis is going to be playing Steve Martin, and Eugene Levy is going to be playing Martin Short is going to be played by Zach Galifianakis, and Steve Martin is going to be played by Eugene Levy. And there was an awesome cameo by Scott Bakula, because the joke from the very beginning of this is Steve Martin had a show called Brazos. I can't remember what it's called, but he had a show when he was younger. It was kind of like a Matlock detective kind of thing. And Scott Bakula took his job. Scott Bakula, of course, from Quantum Leap. He actually had a quick cameo in this because his stunt double, who is I can't remember her name, but his stunt double is the same stunt double that he has, and she's gone missing. But great so far, first episode, and it's gonna be a weekly thing on Hulu. It's pretty good. Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power Season 2. First 3 episodes premiered yesterday. It's on Amazon Prime. The problem with this show is just too fucking slow. Did you watch it? Did you have a chance to watch any of this?
I have not. I'm gonna watch it after we're on tonight. I'll watch it. Okay. I'm only gonna watch like 1 episode. I want to take my time with it. I'll probably throughout the week. So next week we'll give our impressions of the first 4 episodes. But yeah, I've heard really good things about it. But it is probably slow because Lord of the Rings in general is kind of slow. Good, but slow. To me anyways. But a lot of people are comparing it to like the Two Towers as far as pacing and stuff like that goes. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's very slow. Telling the story. The first season told the story of making the elf rings. Yep. And we know there's more rings that need to be made, and that's basically what the first 3 episodes are all about. Beginning to try to make those rings. Sauron is a big part of it now, so
yep.
We got the big bad going forward, so we'll see where that plays out. And you got one more thing you want to talk about before we get into news?
One thing that's been taking up a lot of my time this summer is I started talking to a bunch of people on Twitter, obviously, and now we've kind of moved everything over to Discord. But we wanted to rewatch the DCEU and the DC animated films, starting with Flashpoint, of course, and starting with Man of Steel. So every Tuesday we were doing an anime movie. Every Thursday we were doing a live-action movie. We missed a few here and there as far as weeks go, but we watched them all finally. My summer of DCEU and DC animation is complete. Flashpoint is still my number 1 animated movie. I absolutely love that movie, but I hadn't seen about probably more than half the ones in the animated universe. And Darkseid Apocalypse War, or Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, is outstanding. Fantastic. It was the last one in the bunch. The one before that, Wonder Woman's Bloodlines, was absolutely fucking trash. Like, that movie is just... It hurt me to watch that movie. Yeah, those are my 2 favorite out of that. And, of course, on the DCEU end, my ranking didn't change. I still like Man of Steel a lot. I still like his Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League a lot. You see a lot more now that I'm more into Superman. When you watch... Because we did watch Justice League. You see much more of him being like the traditional Superman and Clark Kent and whatnot. And Blue Beetle we watched last night. I'd only seen it the one time when we talked about it on the podcast, whatever, 2 years ago, a year ago. Yeah, it came out last August. And I never even noticed the first time we watched it that the shield that Ted Kord had made was just a Nintendo Power Glove. So I fucking loved that. I kind of marked out that when I saw that. I never noticed it the first time we watched the movie. But yeah, it was a fun summer. We would just watch them and then afterwards get on and talk about them for about a half hour, give rankings, reviews, stuff like that. But it was a good time and something to look forward to on Tuesday and Thursday nights all summer. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up real quick and So that won't be taking up my time anymore, thank God. Because I loved it, but at the same time, it gave me 2 nights where I couldn't like watch anything for, just to watch it.
Right.
But yeah.
With that being said, let's get into the news. And it's not a news out with a trailer on it. First trailer. Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. This trailer is amazing. I can't wait for it to come out. This comes out in the theaters on September 21st and 25th. Mm-hmm. Shortly after, probably, we were kind of speculating December, probably be out by Christmas time on Max or Thanksgiving.
I'd say I wouldn't be surprised if it launches Christmas Day.
It could be, yeah.
Or Thanksgiving.
But it's all about the story of Christopher Reeves and, of course, his accident and his philanthropic work that he did for spinal cord injuries and all of that, Christopher Reeve Foundation. Everybody who's seen this says it's amazing, including James Gunn. So I cannot wait to see it as well. Another movie, a trailer that I actually hunted down after I heard about it, is called Woman of the Hour. This is a story I've always heard about the dating game in 1978, where a man went on the dating game. One of 3 contestants actually won. During this time on the dating game, he was actually on a murderous killing spree. Killed a bunch of women. The woman that actually dated him survived. Did not get killed, luckily, because during this time he was killing a bunch of people. He ended up getting caught a couple years later, or a year later, in 1979 when he was arrested. But Anna Kendrick, who is from Portland, Maine, she was in Twilight, Pitch Perfect movies. She's directing this as a directorial debut. Does look really good. I thought I had the slide for it. That's the next thing. Don't ignore that. Looks pretty good. New trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I have not watched the first 2. But these movies do look pretty good. Have you watched any of these movies?
I have not. I was never a Sonic guy growing up.
Well,
when the third one comes out, we'll watch them all.
Okay.
And talk about them because I do want to see them. I think I may have seen like parts of the first one, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, James Marsden.
Yeah,
he's in every single one of these. Of course, he was Cyclops, and he wears a short sweater in the movie, and on the sweater it says "Donut Lord," and a whole bunch of donuts on it. So I don't know what this. I have no idea what he does in the movie. I guess he's Sonic's friend. Sonic lives with him. I have no idea. But brand new trailer for Terrifier 3.
Yes, let's go. I cannot wait.
Set at Christmas time. This actually looked pretty funny. But yeah, I don't know about these movies.
I wonder what they're going to do to try to make us throw up this time. Because they've pretty much done everything they can at this point to make us throw up.
Yep. Weekend box office last weekend, Deadpool and Wolverine at 18.3 million, Alien Romulus 16.2, and It Ends With Us is 11.8. So we're getting at the end of summer. Box office is definitely slowing down. The Crow bombed big time at the box office.
Yes, it did.
4.6 million in the opening weekend against a $50 million budget, so it's one of the biggest losses of this year so far.
If it's like Borderlands came out on digital today, which was like 3 weeks after it debuted, so we should be looking for this on digital in about 2 weeks.
Yep. And what's the other? Trap came out today. We're going to be reviewing that soon as well. Rest in peace to Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid, Sid Justice, Sid Uli for WWE, WCW. He passed away, 63 years old. He had cancer. I know him more from WCW. We're going to talk about that in a minute. You know him from growing up. His matches in WrestleMania 8, WrestleMania 13 versus The Undertaker. I know him from that infamous fall in the ring from the top rope where he broke his leg. It was live on television, and not only did he broke his leg on the bottom half of his leg, but it broke and it was just hanging and dangling. You cannot miss it. It was direct screen grab on television for WCW. It was a pay-per-view, I believe. I can't remember if I think think it may have been Scott Steiner at the time he was facing. This is later in the WCW years, but gruesome injury, and that's the first thing I remember from it. But he just posted, just a couple of weeks ago, one of his last posts was he is hopeful that 2025 will be the year that he gets inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame. I'm guessing that'll probably happen now. He was a big part of the early time, right before the Attitude Era. And he was a big part of the company. Of course,
big part of the NWA, WCW before then. He came in as Sid Justice, a good guy, turned on Hulk Hogan. Yeah, totally missed.
First person to kick out of the Hogan leg drop. Is that correct?
Yep. I believe
that's what I heard this week. Yep. So rest in peace to him. This is the next slide. I had it up prematurely. However, Jurassic World new movie is called Rebirth, starring Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali. Comes out sometime in 2026, I believe.
25. It comes out 2 weeks before Superman, and then 2 weeks after that. Okay. It's that Superman and Fantastic Four all get released in the same month next year.
The movie is going to take place 5 years after Dominion. By the way, if you don't have that movie on digital and you didn't want to pay for it, it's $4.99 right now on iTunes this week. I just saw it, and it's the one movie I don't have because it's a trash movie. But I ended up buying it because I'm just a completist as far as movies are concerned. But it follows a team that is racing to secure DNA samples from the 3 most colossal creatures across land, sea, and air. I'm guessing Tyrannosaurus, Pterodactyl, Bronchosaurus, who knows? But July 2025, you're right. So excited for that. I'm sure you're not excited for this. NBA at Netflix has a docuseries starting 5. Drops October 9th. Follows 5 NBA players through the 2023-24 season. One of the players is your arch enemy, LeBron James.
LeBron James. But it does follow Jason Tatum throughout the year in which they win the championship and have one of the greatest seasons in NBA history for the Boston Celtics. So I am looking forward to this.
Okay, cool. It comes out on Netflix on October 9th. Matrix and Back to the Future coming back to theaters. Matrix 25th anniversary, September 19th and 22nd of next month. And Back to the Future Part 2, 35th anniversary, coming out in theaters on October 19th and 21st. We went to the 25th anniversary 10 years ago.
Yes, that was awesome.
For Back to the Future, the first movie.
The whole
30th anniversary. 30. I don't remember what that was. 30 year?
It was the trilogy. We just didn't stay for the third one.
We did not stay for the third one. Greatest part about that was that the exact time of I can't remember. It was Back to the Future Part 2. What was the exact time that happened? The time travel happened at the exact same time as the movie played, or something like that. I can't remember. There's something cool about it. But
when he goes into 2015, it was the exact same time when the movie was being played. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yep. A documentary that we're both looking forward to. I'm so glad they finally have a date, September 25th, for Mr. McMahon, a Netflix documentary series, 6 episodes.
Quick.
Well, we talked about this before, but this documentary has been filmed for a very, very long time. It's supposed to be a career retrospective of Vince McMahon.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah.
However, during the filming of this is when all of the stuff came out for Vince last year. So not only does it talk about his career and everything that happened in WWE, WWF in the early 2000s, late 90s, but it also talks about all of the allegations that happened last year. So you get a lot of it. I'm sure Vince probably quit the interviews after that. However, I'm sure other people had a lot of opinions on it. But this is done by the people that produced Tiger King. So I'm expecting a lot of cool shit from this. 6 episodes. I can't fucking wait. It's going to be great. Comes out on September 25th. Wolves. George Clooney, Brad Pitt, directed by John Watts, coming out on September 27th on Apple. It's going to be on Apple exclusive streaming. We were talking about that last week, but I did have an official date for that. Beetlejuice and Michael Keaton on Hot Ones. A lot of promos for this movie coming out next week. A lot of people are saying it's pretty good. If you like the first movie, you're going to like the second one. just premiered a couple days ago, and review embargo is going to be lifted, I think, this weekend. But Beetlejuice and Michael Keaton had a face-to-face on a fake Hot Ones kind of thing that they were doing. Wendy's coming out with a Krabby Patty this fall. They're going to be having a whole Krabby Patty. Of course, if you've seen SpongeBob SquarePants, that's the place that SpongeBob works. And they're going to be having a Pineapple Under the Sea Frosty and a Hot and Crispy medium fry. I don't know. I guess they must have like a buffalo spice on there or something. I don't know. But yeah. Quentin Tarantino says his Star Trek movie was never going to is not going to happen. Yeah, I think they kind of, that may have been just a passion project.
That's like Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy.
Yep. He also says this week, it's gone viral, that he refuses to watch Toy Story 4 because the third movie ended the story as perfect as you could. I've actually heard this before.
I agree with him. I have not watched Toy Story 4 because of the same exact reason he just said. The story ended perfectly.
Yeah, I don't think I have either. But yeah, he's right. We talked about it before, wondering what the streaming platform subscribers are. I saw this online. I wanted to bring it up. Netflix has 260 million. Now, think about this. You're charging the minimum $6.99 with ads for Netflix, and you have 260 million subscribers monthly. Imagine the amount of money that they're bringing into Netflix.
Yep.
Even Amazon Prime, 220 million. Disney Plus, 150 million. This is all worldwide. Max, 95. Paramount Plus, 63. Hulu, 48 million. Peacock, 28 million. ESPN Plus, 26. Apple TV, 25. And Stars, I had no idea Stars was even around, but they're number 10 out of all these for 15 million subscribers. But
to be fair, Amazon Prime gets a boost because that just comes with Amazon Prime.
It comes right.
So anyone that has Amazon Prime, which is a lot of people, automatically get it, so that boosts their numbers. But yeah, that's pretty incredible that Netflix has that many subscribers.
260 million. That's crazy. Travis and Jason Kelsey have a new deal with an Amazon Wondery, which is their podcast studio. They have exclusive ad sales and distribution rights to their New Heights podcast for $100 million.
Yep.
Not only are they making money in football, but they're making money with podcasting too. There is hope, Kevin. Have you been watching Bel Air?
I really got to catch up because I enjoyed the first season. Is there 3 now?
The third one just aired last week, the week before.
I got rid of Peacock right before season 2, and then got it again right after season 2. I just never went back. Maybe I'll put that on the list for this winter.
Usually there's some really good deals with Peacock. I think I got mine for a whole year for $30.
A year for $20. Like it's $20.
Yeah, $20. That's what it was. Yeah,
every 3 months they run that deal. Yeah, it's worth it for sight.
The original Jeffrey actor from the Fresh Prince of Bel Air actually was in this last season.
Nice.
And he has an interaction. He has an interaction with the Jeffrey from the new series as well in this series. But I wanted to bring that up because I know you watched that show. A digital version of Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection coming out on September 12th. This collects all the Marvel Capcom fighting games, the arcade games. I believe there's like 12 or 13 of them on this set. The physical version comes out on November 26th. But if you ever, like we talked about Terminator 2 in the beginning of the show, but if you ever went to an arcade, chances are you played Marvel vs. Capcom in the arcade too, because these are big games back in the 90s. But they're going to have a whole complete collection of all those arcade games from the 90s and 2000s coming out digitally on September 12th. So that's kind of cool. Borderlands 2 came out today. Borderlands the movie came out today on digital. If you want to torture us, maybe we'll watch that. I don't know. It looks so bad.
It does.
But
I'm watching it at some point because it's Eli Roth, so I will watch it when I have nothing else to watch.
Right.
I have such a backlog of movies, I'm going to probably hold off on that one.
Best Eli Roth movie, in your opinion? I mean, my opinion is obvious. It's Thanksgiving. So we watched that last year. It was fucking incredible.
For me, it's probably Hostel, and then Thanksgiving, and then he did Cabin Fever, so those 3.
Okay. Yeah, Cabin Fever. Jeez, I forgot he did that one too. With Ryder Strong.
Yep. GameStop
coming out with a GameStop Retro new store. they may be turning their old game store, some of them, into this as well, but it's going to be a new storefront where they're going to be selling a lot of retro games, a lot of retro game systems. It's going to focus on that. The systems are going to include all the original Nintendo games, all the original Xbox 360, PS1, 2, 3, Genesis, Dreamcast, Saturn, PS Vita. So yeah, it's kind of the big thing right now. 10 years ago, the prices weren't too bad. Now it's crazy to try to buy the retro games. I was buying some a couple months ago, but I had to stop because it was getting too expensive. Plus, I lost my job. Big news this week was Ted Lasso is eyeing a season 4 green light, with most of the main cast returning. Jason Sudeikis coming on as producer. I believe Apple's going to be releasing the new iPhones in a couple of weeks. If this is true, this will be announced probably around that time. They're going to probably announce that Ted Lasso, because this show's huge for them. It's their number one thing besides Shrinking. There's a couple other shows they have on their streaming platform. Ted Lasso is the biggest thing they have. Yep. It's still like number 2 on all the streaming on Apple TV. It hasn't been out for over a year now.
There isn't a lot of stuff on Apple, but it's funny because everything that's on Apple gets rave reviews. Like they put a lot of money into hiring the right people for their projects. Like, there isn't enough on Apple to make you want to be a regular subscriber, but every couple of months they drop something like a Ted Lasso or Shrinking, and it gets rave reviews.
The other thing is they don't have a lot of IP. It's all original content too.
Yeah,
they don't have any IP. It's all original. Like the Ted Lasso's an original story, Shrinking's an original story. So yeah, I can't wait. No word on if Jason Sudeikis is going to be acting in it, but I believe Hannah Worthington, Brett Goldstein, and a few others have already signed on to be for roles of it. So it's going to come back in some form. Did leave it wide open. Season 3 ended on a perfect note. Ted Lasso went back home. I always did think that it would be great to see him in his element at home, but we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of comebacks, Oasis officially coming back, getting together. Since 2009, they have not been performing together. They haven't even been talking, these two brothers.
Did you see their Twitter interaction? One of them goes, "Hey, unblock me. I gotta tell you something." And then he goes, "Okay, unblocked. What do you have to say?" And the other one just goes, "Bitch."
They are great. If you ever hear them in interviews talking about each other, they complain about each other all the time.
Yep.
But coming back, doing a whole bunch of concerts in the UK, but probably coming to America too if they can survive that long. The last time they were together, they got in a big, huge knockdown, drag-out fight right before they were going to be performing. Their whole tour got canceled because of it. So we'll see how long this one lasts before the same thing happens again. But kind of iconic for the soundtrack of the 90s for sure.
Yes.
Also, speaking of wrestling earlier, AJ Mendez, who played AJ Lee on Wrestling Married to CM Punk, she wrote a book a couple of years ago, Crazy is My Superpower. The series is heading to A&E. I think she talked about this a few years ago, but it took steam again this week because I think it came out somewhere else. It's still being shopped around. But this is the first time I've heard about it, really. AJ Lee, I think she was a great, at the time, women wrestling was kind of second back burner stuff. Then the woman revolution happened, actually became a thing, and she's kind of the forefront to that. So we'll see where that goes. I know the movie with about Paige is pretty good with the Rock produced, so maybe they'll hit that kind of same note. Nikki Glaser, straight off the Tom Brady roast, is going to be hosting the 82nd annual Golden Globe Awards, coming out January 5th of next year. She is very funny. A lot of the great jokes from Tom Brady roast were from her, Andrew Schultz and her, and Tony Hinchcliffe. But I thought she did a fantastic job. I've been following her for over a decade now. She's really funny.
Yeah,
it's good for her. Brand new documentary coming out on Disney Plus on December 13th. Elton John, Never Too Late. Full documentary about his life, his whole entire life and his career. So I cannot wait for that. I know you're a fan of that Elton John movie.
I love Elton John in general.
Yeah, I love his music too.
Something I didn't get into until I was much older. So
same. Yeah. The only thing I ever got into was a little bit of the music, but like Tiny Dancer and Almost Famous, I loved that when I first saw it. But A Complete Unknown, film about Bob Dylan, directed by James Mangold. Brand new poster for that with Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan came out today. Edward Norton, Elle Fanning in that as well, coming out on Christmas Day. Brand new poster for Pinocchio Unstrung. This is the movie set in the Poohniverse. It's the very first next movie in this universe coming out, where they're going to be having a whole Avengers-style Disney character, not Disney characters, fantasy character, Avengers movie at the end, where all of them assemble. But Pinocchio is going to be the next one, and it's Pinocchio. Looks like he stabbed Geppetto in the hand, so we'll see all about that soon. Todd Phillips is talking about The Joker. Comes out a little bit over a month from now, October 2nd, I believe. He's talking about the music in the movie. He's talking about it not really being a musical, but the music in the movie is really just dialogue. It's just Arthur not having the words to say what he wants to say. I kind of get that feeling from the trailers too. He's very in his head. I think Lady Gaga is going to help him get there too. But I cannot wait for this movie. A couple new character posters came out this week too, with Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix as Joker. A brand new game based on the Batman, reportedly in development. No other information on that as well. Did you say it was debunked by James Gunn? I just saw that.
Literally within an hour of it being posted online, somebody asked James Gunn about it, and he goes, "Unfortunately, not."
Okay. So strike that, reverse it. We will not go by that. Agatha All Along, brand new trailer came out this week. They're teasing who this character, this little kid character is. I believe it's going to be a grown-up version of Billy, one of Wanda's son, but they teased it in the trailer. I cannot wait for this. They took a lot of inspiration. The thing about I heard about this show this week, they talk a lot of inspiration from old 70s, 80s horror movies, but they also are doing all practical effects for it. I believe there's not a lot of CGI effects. They did a lot of camera tricks, a lot of practical effects, which we heard about on Werewolf by Night a couple of years ago. So that's pretty cool if they're doing that. A lot of horror tricks and stuff like that. So this comes out on September 18th, the first 2 episodes on Disney Plus. So that's pretty cool. Agatha All Along. Disney shared a 85th anniversary of Marvel video yesterday and showed some first looks at Daredevil Born Again, Thundercats, and the very end of it they showed the official first look of Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk. At full face of him coming out of the podium that we saw in the Comic-Con trailer that leaked. Looked really good, seeing it in HD. Fantastic Four, currently filming. We see some more screenshots of the what they're doing in the background. We see looks like a helipad on top of Baxter Building. We see a city streets, looks like a 1960s inspired 1960s inspired like Times Square in New York City. We also see a statue of Fantastic Four, Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, Sue Storm, and Ben Grimm, all in their characters. We're not sure if this is going to be in front of the Baxter Building or what, but there's a big, huge statue that was made for the film. And we also see the very first practical Ben Grimm, the Thing.
Yes.
I think this may have...
Oh, yeah, go on, sorry.
No, I think this is kind of just like there, just before the CG, but this character is going to be CG, no matter what.
I think it was for lighting, trying to track lighting and maybe get some shadows or something. Because the character is going to be CG. They already announced that it's going to be a CG. I think this is mostly for lighting and just setup, stuff like that.
I think so too. That's basically, and they did the same with Hulk. They did the same with Thanos. They just kind of dress the set to make it so they can make the CG easier later. Especially this movie comes out in less than a year. 11 months from now, this movie's coming out.
I have no idea how they're going to make it.
They must have had a lot of previs done.
Yeah, I mean, like, Superman's going to make it, obviously. But, like, not really this as much as, like, Jurassic World. I don't know. Like, this was in pre-production way before Jurassic World was even announced. So it's going to be interesting. Of course, if they're doing a lot of stuff practically, outside of, obviously, his CG for Ben Grimm, the Thing, I could see them being able to if they don't have a lot to do in post. But they're going to be cutting it close. Because the 5-month shoot, it's not going to wrap until the new year, give or take.
Yeah, right.
So it's going to be interesting to see them nail it.
Yep, yeah. I'm excited for all of next year. Not just Marvel, not just DC, but everything. We talked about 2025, crazy year. And finally in news, we got the first official look at Gambit, Channing Tatum surviving after Wade and Wolverine left the Void. We see a deleted scene for Deadpool and Wolverine teasing Channing Tatum's Gambit. As he's looking back at the camera, you see one of Marvel's sparkle circles in the glimpse of his eyes like he's about to leave the Void. Setting up maybe something will happen later on. Speculation he'll be in Secret Wars or some sort of an X-Men, who knows. But after his performance and the rave reviews, everybody's talking about Gambit. The year of Gambit is what they're calling it. I really hope we see him again sooner rather than later. But Channing did an amazing job. And that is it for the show. Next week is the beginning of the month, so we have a show and tell. We're going to talk about Only Murders. We're going to talk about Rings of Power, Episode 4. The month of September is football month. We're going to start talking about football. Next week, I'm going to watch The Blind Side. Never saw that. We're going to watch that next week. You've seen The Blind Side, right?
I saw The Blind Side. I actually saw it on a plane, I believe.
Okay.
The best way to watch a movie, clearly, on a plane.
Now, we're going to talk about that next week. Labor Day, if you're interested, on Netflix, Joey Chestnut versus Kobayashi. Going to be doing their big Labor Day showdown live. Next week, Beetlejuice comes out. Rebel Ridge comes out. This movie, I don't know if you've seen the trailer or not. If you haven't, hunt it down. It looks very good. Lots of action. Comes out next week as well. September 13th, Transformers 1. Trailer looks pretty good for that. Killer's Game, I can't remember what that was about, but I put it in the calendar. On the 18th, Agatha All Along premieres. On the 19th, a day later, The Penguin premieres. Twilight of the Gods also premieres that day. The Zack Snyder Thor Norse mythology.
Yep.
On the 25th, Mr. McMahon documentary. Probably the one thing I'm excited about this month more than anything. And 27th, Wolves and Megalopolis, Francis Ford Coppola's movie we talked in length about last week. So a lot of stuff next month. Football season is upon us. Blindside next week. Got a few other ones in the pipeline I want to talk about. And then we get into October, we got some good stuff then too. We've got Batman The Long Halloween, which I started reading prematurely this week. We got The Joker. We're going to rewatch that before the new movie debuts. A whole bunch of Halloween stuff that you're going to be curating for the podcast as well. So everybody stay tuned. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Sorry that you missed the first 10 minutes, but you can listen to it in podcast form. And we will talk to everyone next week. Peace.
Deuces.
We're the Geek Blurb crew, here to enlighten you. Talking all things geeky, from movies to wrestling to our podcast is the place where you wanna be for all the latest news and nostalgia from the 80s and 90s. We review comic book flicks and sci-fi hits, riding the wave of action movies with all the cool bits. From Iron Man to Star Wars, we cover it all. And when it comes to wrestling, we never drop the ball. Geek Blurb, we're the kings of the nerds. Rating movies and pineapples, our opinions never blur. Join us each week for a geeky chat with the latest news and a dose of nostalgia that. So if you're a fan of the comic book craze, or a lover of sci-fi and all its maze, tune in to Geek Blurb, we're here to entertain, bringing you the best in geekdom, it's our domain.